I love the World Juniors. Whether it be the excitement as a Team Canada fan or watching my team's prospect have a tournament for the ages, there's something about sitting down with the family and hurling insults at teenagers whenever they mess up. Glorious, glorious insults. Death threats even if necessary. The thrill of watching your team play, probably Canada's version of the thrill of college football. It's weird putting your undying support onto a bunch of teenagers, but alas, we find ourselves here. But there's U18s, the World Championship, but those don't hold a candle to the hype and pedigree of the World Juniors. But why? When other sports play international, there seems to be a consensus in favorites. The NBA and NFL are US dominated, but for the NHL, especially U20 play, it seems that any country can bring home gold. Obviously, Canada are the favorites year in year out, but teams like the US have won 2 straight, and Sweden, Russia, and Czechia are always dark horses. And even when they were here, Russia was also a worthy adversary. Any team can win, and that's the glory of it. You never know who's gonna win. There's years where Canada sucks and you see a team like the 2016 Finnish team come through. Speaking of the 2016 Team Finland, 2016 Finland World Junior team is a prime example of what just makes this tournament so amazing as a hockey fan. The team was stacked in a way that didn't really hit people until years later. Patrick Laine, Sebastian Aho, Jesse Puljujärvi, Olli Levy, Nico Mikkola, Mikko Rantanen, Roope Hintz, Kasperi Kapanen, Kaapo Kähkönen, all NHLers. This roster was deep and it had star power as well, and it showed. They won gold in overtime at Helsinki. Literally the perfect scenario. The 2016 team was in the middle of a golden generation that saw them win 3 in a 5-year span, 2014, 2016, and 2019. The likes of Teravainen, Ristolainen, to Aho, Rantanen, Laine, to Kaapo Kakko. That 6-year span was amazing prospect development. And speaking of prospect development, the US has dominated in the past few years with US NDDP programs, often churning out their best prospects. Meanwhile, Canada seems hell-bent on screwing themselves over. I mean, the 2025 World Junior selection camp was awful, leaving home players like Parekh, Yakimchuk, Seneca, and Misa for more gritty players, which showed when this team couldn't score to save their lives. But speaking on Team Canada, a large reason why the World Juniors is so popular is because of Canada and Canadian fans. Canadian games of the World Juniors regularly pull about 3 to 7 million viewers, with gold medal games often pushing past 6 if not 10 million on TSN alone. For context, that's comparable to late round NHL games and even some years rivals NBA Finals viewership in Canada. The 2015 gold medal game peaked at over 7.6 million viewers, making it one of the most watched hockey broadcasts in Canadian TV history. It is not just viewership too, attendance and participation when the tourneys are hosted in Canada backs up as well. The 2023 tournament in Halifax and Moncton averaged over 9,000 fans a game, and that includes non-Canada games. And on the development side, roughly about 45 to 55% of Canada's World Junior rosters each year go on to play over 200 NHL games, which keeps casual and hardcore fans invested. People aren't watching just junior players, they're watching potentially future NHLers, if not future stars, or even future generational talents. Add in the timing of it with it being in the middle of winter break, when schools are off, and the NHL schedule is a little lighter, and the result is a tournament that consistently delivers elite ratings. That's to say that World Juniors in Canada is a massive, massive deal, and just ignoring the fan aspect of it, some of the most memorable moments in World Junior history have come from the Canadians. The punch-up at PS20, Eberle, the sex assault scandal, have all involved Team Canada. Personally, my most fondest moment is the 2017 World Juniors because not a particularly good Canadian team, they didn't even win gold, but a Sens fan watching Chabot dominate and eventually win MVP, becoming the first and to this day the only D-man to do it, was captivating. Tournament isn't always made impacted by the most prolific of players, not just for this tournament, but in past tournaments as well. Zachary Fucali, Anthony Duclair, Max Domi, Blake Spears, Joshua Wall, all players who aren't exactly stars in the NHL who are major parts of Canadian winning squads. And that's the glory of it. Yes, players like Crosby, Bedard, and McDavid have all played and dominated World Juniors, but sometimes it's the guys who won't amount to the glory they'll achieve playing in this tourney that make the most impact. A classic example is Vadim Shipashov, who dominated the 2013 World Juniors with Russia, finishing among the scoring leaders and looking like a future surefire NHLer. But when he finally crossed paths in 2018 for Vegas, The pace, physicality, and the roll compression completely erased his impact. Another example is Marco Dano, who had a very strong World Junior showing that fueled optimism about his two-way game and scoring touch. He was a headliner in the Brandon Saw trade, but eventually he never really carved out an NHL role. And goaltenders might be the most unforgiving category of all. A hot goalie can steal a World Juniors at any given moment. Jack Campbell dominated 2010 World Juniors, posting elite numbers and walking away with MVP honors. It took a while, but he did eventually become a decent NHLer for one season. Oh my god, what the hell happened here? Players like Grigory Denisenko, Dennis Godla, Kiefer Bellows, who barely amount to do anything in the NHL, had their hockey career magnum opus during these tournaments. Those TikTok trends where you name an obscure player, feel like we need one of those for the World Juniors. Like, remember Joe Hickett, Nick Patan, Saku Malanainen, Dennis Mulligan? These players, albeit not really memorable NHLers, are memorable for a 2-week span in December, and that's why I love it. Russia's absence from the World Junior Championship is rooted in the IHF's decision following 2022 invasion of Ukraine. And it makes sense. There's no standpoint where it makes sense for them to be in the World Juniors, and it's hard to argue against. That said, it's different without them. Russia wasn't just another contender. They were the built-in villain. The team everyone circled on the schedule, the country that celebrated loudly, played emotionally, taunted benches, and treated wins like personal statements. When Russia was in the tournament, every comeback felt dangerous and every late lead felt unsafe. That edge extended off the ice too, sometimes crossing lines and becoming part of World Junior Championship lore. The most infamous example of this is after the 2011 tournament, where several Russian players were kicked off of the team plane because of reports of disruptive behavior and alcohol use while waiting for their flight home. It cemented that larger-than-life persona that Russians carried out at the World Juniors. With Russia gone, the tournament is more cleaner and calmer and more controlled, but it's missing a certain chaos that, for better or worse, helped make the World Juniors what it was. Russia every year were the true villains of the tourney, and man, I remember in 2011 when they made that epic comeback. Even when they were down, they were still showboating and giving to the Canadians. Then they tied it and took the lead, and oh my days did they celebrate, screaming incoherently into the microphone with the biggest shit-eating grin you've ever seen, and all while screaming in Russian. The US these past 2 years have tried replicating this with them doing this, but it isn't the same. They don't have the same aura that these toothless fucks had. It looks a little forced and unauthentic, unlike the Russians who did it. I think what makes it different is that the Americans are seen as more frontrunners when they celebrate. They don't talk until they're up, while the Russians are screaming while down most of the time. Every holiday season when the World Juniors rolls around, Canada's passionate fan base doesn't just watch, they invest emotionally. When things go well, players become instant heroes. But when Canada stumbles, the narrative often shifts quickly to a scapegoat. In 2025, this was amplified with Easton Cowan, who became the poster boy for that epic collapse. Many fans zeroed in on Cowan's giveaways and lack of production. Even when analysts pointed out to broader issues with the team, fans pinpointed the issue on Cowan. 2019 World Juniors captain Maxime Comtois carried an outsized share of the blame. He was later revealed to have played much of the tournament with a separated shoulder, something that only emerged after criticism had already taken hold. Meanwhile, looking back on past tournaments, Jake Virtanen became inseparably linked to a 2016 loss against Finland where he was on the ice for a deciding goal and took multiple dumb penalties. Goalies haven't escaped this either. While the 2025 starter Carter George was actually one of the better players on their team, the late goal that ended Canada's run became a talking point that overshadowed his overall great play. This is a crude reality. With so many eyes, and sometimes those expectations don't get met, and well, this happens. Now, I'm not old enough to have watched the 09 World Juniors, so some of my favorite memories right now might be the 2023 World Juniors one with Bedard. But honestly, the 2015 tournament as a whole was way more memorable for me. Maybe it's because I remember watching the TSM preview religiously as a kid, as I was able to indulge into all the players' journeys and careers. So watching them, especially in the gold medal game, a game where we essentially had it in the bag until we didn't, was so entertaining. And that's why I love the World Juniors. The highs and the lows of watching teenagers cry tears of joys or tears of anguish. And sometimes, there's a moment where you can look back on and say, I was there. Jesus, we have a problem.